What did you think? Big sigh.
First of all, I'm just going to say this. If I see a black person walking around with Trump mugshot, I'm going to punch him in the face.
Charles.
No, Gail.
Charles.
Gail.
You really can't say that because, A, you don't mean that.
I mean that sincerely. I'm going to just tell you something.
And then you will be arrested for assault. And then what?
I'm going to bail myself out and go celebrate. If I smell
Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him. Okay, but go ahead.
Seriously.
Continue.
First of all, if I was at that
conference,
I'd have got up and walked out. That was an insult to all black people. Because he basically just...
All right, guys, so we got to talk about this fascinating conversation between Charles Barkley and Shannon Sharpe, who I believe both unknowingly have a case of cognitive dissonance in the sense that they're going to talk about the discomfort that they feel when black people call them racial slurs and sellouts because they don't 100% agree with the pro-black woke revolutionaries who, by the way, are not actually pro-black. They're actually pro-progressive. They just don't know it, right? They're really more pro-progressive than they are pro-black. And the reason why I say this is because both of these individuals have participated in trashing black people who do not align with the pro-black cause, right? If you don't align with progressivism or liberalism, they smear you, okay? And Charles Barkley has done that. As you guys saw at the beginning of the video, we all remember Charles Barkley saying, hey, I'm going to punch black people who run around with Trump mugshot shirts, right? AKA he wants to punch black Trump supporters. Again, this guy admitted that. He also admits that he's been voting Democrat all his life, okay? Despite the fact that sometimes he says things that make sense, okay? But just like Stephen A., lifelong Democrat. And then you have Shannon Sharpe, who recently smeared Candace Owens as forgetting that she was black because she has conservative beliefs.
Can you help me understand this?
I wasn't ready for that.
Sometimes, and it's happened before, people in our community forget that they're black. And they try to appease a group of people that's probably never going to embrace them. And once they realize that, guess who's the first group to take them back?
I don't know her.
You know, I ain't say nobody's name, Amanda. You don't even know who I'm talking about.
I don't know.
How you know who I'm talking about? But we've seen this happen before. Rest his soul, O.J. Simpson. You know, he had the famous quote, I'm O.J., I ain't black. Even Michael Jackson went through what he went through, rest his soul.
Right.
Even Kanye had to be reminded. And now Miss Owens, I don't want no black pilots, I don't want this, I don't want that. And now we can't keep off our black media stations. When before she gave us her butt to kiss. Now, if I'm lying, if I'm speaking out of turn, people, y'all correct me. But y'all know I'm telling the truth. Now, you're talking about somebody that's always uplifted this community. And I was one of the first guys that had a viral moment with Cat Williams. And they couldn't wait. They couldn't wait to attack me. But Candace has given y'all her butt to kiss for 2 decades. And the moment, what they doing? They can't fire me. They can't fire me. The hell you say? Now look at her.
It's not her fault.
Whose fault is it? Oh, no. Let's not take that blame.
Let her back in.
Huh?
The spaces that let her back in.
Oh, okay. But that's how we are. We're very forgiving people.
Who taught us to be that?
We do.
Who taught us that version of forgiveness? Do I need to do the lesson?
No, because I know.
Them slave owners taught us that version of forgiveness. They gave us a Bible called the Slave Bible. And this Bible had parts of it taken out. It had the parts of uprisings taken out. It taught about forgiveness because they needed to make it okay in their minds.
No matter how bad I treat you, at some point in time, I need you to forgive me for the wrongs I've done against you.
Yeah, so apparently Candace Owens being a black conservative is a form of a wrong, okay? She's wronging the black community by having conservative political opinions, okay? And Shannon Sharpe went on to falsely state that Candace Owens doesn't believe that we should have black pilots when she never stated that. She actually just stated that, hey, I think that we should not be hiring people based off race. If they're not qualified for the job, we should be hiring the best individuals for the job, right? I think that's what she said. But if you interpret that as, well, she's saying that we shouldn't hire black pilots because she's saying that we shouldn't hire individuals who aren't qualified for these jobs, then I think that's more of an indictment about how you feel about black people than how she feels about black people. But regardless, my point is that they have participated in this smearing of black people, questioning their blackness and their skin color for having the wrong opinions. But now, all of a sudden, they want to come out and boohoo, whine, and cry about being called, again, sellouts and racial slurs when they don't go along with the pro-progressive agenda, because it's not pro-black. It actually really is just pro-progressive. So without further ado, let's get into it.
And that goes back to what we talked about earlier. I always want to uplift black people.
Correct.
Always. I'm proud of your success. And I know people gonna hate on you. I know people gonna hate on me. And they're gonna be black. I said, but man, I love to see black people doing good.
I love to see us win.
I love it. But I was like,
not unless they're Candace Owens, right? If you see a black conservative doing well, or a successful black conservative, you're not even considered to be a part of black media, right? This is something I've picked up on quite a bit listening to Roland Martin talk about the so-called black media space. He completely fails to recognize that black conservatives, like a Brandon Tatum or a Candace Owens, are black, and they have been very successful when it comes to building their own platforms. Their platform's much bigger than his platform. But according to him, right, in his mind, if you're not a black liberal, then you're not a part of black media. This is why I think that conversation about Candace Owens running back to the black media space after leaving the Daily Wire was just funny to me, because I'm almost like, okay, well, she is black. She has a platform. Her platform is larger than most of these other black liberal platforms. I'm not sure exactly why you wouldn't characterize her as being a part of black media, right? Why would you not say that she's a part of that? Or even Brandon Tatum. I guess you could argue that, well, she's under the veil of the Daily Wire, or she was, so therefore that's not black. But regardless, you consider somebody like Brandon Tatum, who has a large platform, is like, well, wouldn't he be a part of that as well too? Again, his platform is larger than all these other people's. But they never actually do that for black conservatives, right? If you're a black conservative, you're not considered to be a part of the black space. And that's fine. I'm simply just pointing out an observation that I have made when it comes to who's considered to be a black voice and who's not considered to be a black voice. It doesn't have anything to do with your skin color as much as it has to do with your political opinions, okay? So, you know, when you talk about black people hating other black people's success, when we talk about politics, it seems that black liberals really hate the success of black conservatives because they see black conservatives as being supported by white people, which, by the way, most people that I've met in person that have recognized me have been black, right? And they agree with a lot of my opinions. Some things they disagree with, but they actually agree with a vast majority of the things I say. Again, most of the people I've met that recognize me in person are black males, some black women as well too. But regardless of that, because your success they see as a result of white support, therefore you're not black, even though I would argue that even in the black liberal space, because a majority of the country is white. I mean, the most successful black liberals are also supported primarily by whites. Like, white people are primarily watching Joy Reid or Tiffany Cross, okay? Now, some of these other platforms may struggle because they overtly kind of tell white people that this show is not for you, which is not a good business model, right? To tell the largest segment of people in this country, demographically, racially speaking, that, hey, you shouldn't watch my show, or that this is only for black folks. That's kind of silly to me, especially if you want your show to survive and you want to reach people. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I would argue that whether you're a black conservative or a black liberal, you're going to need white people to watch your show in order to be successful. But again, for some reason, black conservatives are hated because they see that their success as a result of, you know, white people supporting them, when I would argue that any prominent black liberal that you see in the media or on any independent platform, regardless, they have to have a decent amount of white support in order to have sustained success, right? I mean, that's just the reality of the demographic breakdown in this country.
Like I'm old enough and I'm around enough to know there's gonna be some hate coming toward me, especially if they disagree with something I say.
Right. But I want you to win, but I don't want you to win more than me. Now I see if you win more than me, now I got to question your sexuality.
Yeah.
I got to question, how black are you? Because, bro, I'm like, come on, man. I mean, I criticize white quarterbacks. But if I criticize a black quarterback, man, see, I should have known old Buck Nancy Shannon. I know he gonna take care of the white. Come on, bro.
No,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the crabs in the bucket mentality in the sense that, this tends to happen when, you talk about any type of corporate setting or any type of competitive business setting. It's just funny to me how a lot of black people complain about, well, the white man is holding me back. It is like, well, if you ever worked in corporate America, again, or a business setting, you would actually notice as a black person, the people that are going to hate your success the most are going to be other black people, because they are going to associate your success with selling out for the white man, right? Because you are a black individual and you're moving up and you're getting positions that they're not getting. So when they see you be successful, they're going to ask themselves, well, I'm black. Why am I not successful? And then they're going to try to bring you down as a result, right? And that's kind of what I noticed working in corporate America, is that the person that really is rooting for your downfall is not the white man, okay? Because the good capitalist white man is not worried about skin color or race. He's more worried about, again, can you do the job? It is actually really other black people who don't want to see other black people have more success than they do, right? And again, this is kind of what Shannon is referring to, but when it comes to sports commentary and things of that nature, they can't even give fair commentary on sports without having to look at it through a racial lens. I've explained to you guys this story 1,000 times when it comes to Stephen A. Smith and Colin Kaepernick. Stephen A. Smith came out and gave the correct opinion on Colin Kaepernick and the fact that he clearly and obviously did not want to be back in the NFL. He was self-sabotaging himself to try to play the victim card, and Stephen A. Smith rightfully called it out. Just for Terrell Owens to go on First Take and to tell Stephen A. Smith that, hey, this guy, Max Kellerman, is blacker than you, Stephen A., because your opinion does not align with the pro-black opinion, right? This is what happens to black people in media, okay, who actually try to be objective. Objectivity is anti-black, according to these people, right? That's what happens. And that's why you see Stephen A. Smith race bait so much on television, because he's getting pressure from the so-called pro-blacks to fight for the cause, right? To always be pushing the black agenda, okay? And to always be aligned with black people, regardless of whether or not black people are right or wrong. You have to align with them. You have to stand with them, because that is your duty, your responsibility as a black person, especially as a black person in media with a prominent position of power, okay? And if you don't do that, then you're not really black. You're a sellout. Okay, you are a racial slur. So not only do some of these people hate the fact that you are successful, okay, because you are black, and they're not, they have not reached success, and they think that your success has to be a result of selling out to the white man. But if you reach that level of success, then they expect that you have to align with them when it comes to all issues, right? You have to make sure that you stay on the pro-black side, or that is further proof that you sold out to the white man.
Man, and number one, I've been watching for a long time, obviously. I never seen you try to get clickbait, ever.
No.
I said, yo, man, I take this responsibility because I do know. But I'm not going to tell black people they right all the time.
No.
If you want that, I'm not your guy.
If you wrong,
you're wrong.
I got to tell you wrong.
I said, yo, man, no. We can be wrong. But also, on the other hand, when I see some shit happen to a black player of the community, I'm going to step in.
Right.
I had it was interesting.
Yeah, so now they're going to start talking about OJ, and I want to actually fast forward through this part of it and go to a more relevant part of this interview in regards to the conversation, because Charles Barkley is going to talk about the differences between the so-called white schools and the black schools. in regards to what the kids want to do, okay, and what they aspire to be when they grow up.
I know when I'm gonna start a fire.
Yeah.
I know it.
Right.
But I had planned on the start, because most of the time, that goes back to the role model commercial I made.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So when I made the commercial, I went to Nike and said, I want to make this commercial. I said, they're like, you're out of your mind. I said, no. I said, what I'm noticing is we have too many segregated schools in this country. I said, when I go to these white schools, I said, what do y'all want to do when you grow up? They like, want to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, teachers. When I go to these black schools, they're like, I want to play in the NFL, I want to play in the NBA. And I was doing this when you do a lot of speaking when you're in playing. So I was doing this for like 4 or 5 years, and I was like, yo, man, these black kids think they can only be successful through athletics and entertainment.
Yep.
They don't ever think about being doctors, lawyers, and engineers and shit like that.
Right.
Well, I mean, again, that's a product of culture, right? And again, it's not really a race thing, it's a cultural thing, okay? I guarantee you, if you talk to kids from black families that are affluent, that have parents that are doctors, lawyers, engineers, that are generally successful, right? You're going to get the same answers in regards to, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Okay, what do you aspire to be? And you're going to get the same thing. I mean, I went to school at a so-called elite high school, a dual enrollment high school, probably one of the first in the country, I believe. And the black students there, some of them whom African, right? Most of them African, really. None of them wanted to be athletes, right? I think I was the only black student that went there that played football, right? That played like an actual like sport. Okay, I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I was the only one that played like, the sports that, black people traditionally, play or whatever, right? A lot of them played Frisbee and stuff like that, but I got questions about not. I would consider that to be more of a traditional sport. But anyways, all of them knew that, hey, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a scientist. I want to go into, this or that. And all of them basically ended up doing that. But they already knew what they wanted to be at a young age. And they were already working to be that even in high school. Because they came from families that were affluent and that, culturally speaking, valued those things. So again, what Charles Barkley is talking about here, the best way to describe the differences between these so-called white schools and black schools is not really along racial lines as much as along cultural lines, right? Socioeconomic lines. Because those are the main factors and determinants of what these kids aspire to be, okay? And a lot of that, again, falls on the parents in regards to what they expose their kids to, what do they talk to their kids about, and what do they push their kids into. If a parent is pushing their kid to learn about robotics or to learn about mathematics and engineering and, science and developing that interest at a young age, then most likely that's something that they're going to go into or be interested in. Okay, if they're teaching them about business, showing them, how the business works, if they own a business or whatever, if they come from that certain background, then yeah, that's what the kids are going to go into. They're going to be less likely to want to aspire to be, athletes and entertainers. But for black folks, a lot of the people that we put on a pedestal are, again, the athletes and entertainers. I've done stories about some of these schools inviting the sexy reds of the world, okay, hood rats. I mean, self-admitted hood rat. The worst example possible for a young black girl to follow, inviting her to come speak at their school. This is what they're doing. And I got to wonder, well, how many black doctors or black engineers or black scientists or, successful black people with legitimate careers outside of entertainment has that school invited to come talk to these kids, to have a rally for these kids? I guarantee you, probably not any. But this is what we're doing. We're pushing these individuals on young black youth. I mean, really, we're pushing these individuals on youth in general, to be quite honest with you. And the result is that, yeah, they don't want to aspire to be anything outside of what they see and what they're exposed to. So it's really not their fault. It's the fault of the parents, and it's the fault of the so-called culture that these people try so hard to protect. And I really don't understand why. Because it's not a culture that has produced success for black people at a large scale. Again, if you want to go into entertainment, I mean, you've had that, some success there. But you know, it's much harder to become an actor or a football player or a basketball player than it is to become a lawyer or a doctor or investment banker or, you know, even to own your own business, to learn a trade or whatever, and to start a business, because that's also success as well too, right?
So I talked Nike into doing the commercial, and it became a big deal.
You did.
Still probably the thing I'm most proud of to this day. I said, because I knew it was going to start a fire. And I was like, guys, I'm not trying to skirt responsibility, but I want young black kids to know, like, yo, man, you don't have to play in the NFL or NBA. We got black doctors.
Right.
We got black lawyers. We got black engineers. But y'all got these kids thinking like all they see is Shannon, Michael, Carl, Chuck, David Robinson. The only black people they see are jocks and entertain, Jay-Z. I said, man, they got a better chance of being a doctor than a lawyer playing in it.
Jay-Z
Yes.
or LeBron.
Yes. And I said, I just want to spark the debate. And in fairness to Nike came back to me later and said, man, we want to thank you for making that commercial. I said, because 90% of the letters we got were pro. I said, well, first of all, I'm not worried about no negative publicity. I play in Philly. I said, I thought my name was Charles Barkley, you motherfucker, for like the first 2 years of my, I said, guys, I'm in Philly. I'm used to criticism, but I always have used my platform for a bigger debate.
Yes.
I'm trying to make a difference.
Yeah, so you get the gist of the conversation. Now, again, my criticism of Shannon Sharpe and Charles Barkley is the fact that, you know, they criticize people like Candace Owens for having different opinions than the so-called pro-blacks or from the left, because, again, that's what it's really about. You disagree with progressives, therefore you're a sellout, and I don't think they really realize that that's what they're really criticizing her for. But regardless, you can see, you know, they're boohoo whining and crying about, well, they're black people that attack me as not being black for having a different opinion than them. Well, you do the same thing to so-called black conservatives, because black conservatives are an easy target, okay? And you are a part of the problem. So I don't want to hear the boohoo whining and crying, right? I don't want to hear you complaining about being called a sellout or, you know, all these slurs they call black folks that, again, don't agree with the left. I don't want to hear you complain about it when it happens to you, because you have done it to black conservatives who, again, are seen as easy targets to direct those types of attacks towards. So, again, it's just funny how all of a sudden when it happens to them, they see, oh, this is wrong, right? This don't feel good, okay? This ain't right, okay? I'm just trying to help black people out. But that same benefit of the doubt is never given to, again, black conservatives who are critical of the black community. You're always seen as, well, you're critical of the black community because you hate black people, not so much as, well, actually, I'm being critical because I want black people to do better. I want more success. And the only way to get better and to have more success is through constructive criticism, okay? If you're not talking about the real problems, you're not talking about the real issues, if you're not criticizing the culture, then the culture can never evolve and to get better. You're always going to be behind because, again, the current culture of the black community is not conducive to success. And this is why all of these other ethnicities, races come into this country and they outcompete and they are more successful than black folks because the culture is different. And that is the honest to God truth in a conversation that, again, a lot of these individuals just really don't want to have or acknowledge at all. Okay. So the folks that do want to have that conversation, you're smeared as, again, a sellout or, you know, a race trader or whatever. And it's like, well, no. If I was actually really a race trader, I would continue to allow the culture of degeneracy. In fact, I would promote it. I would never talk about it. And I would stand up for thugs and criminals and, you know, want your kids to be rappers and entertainers more so than actual positive contributors to society. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some random dude on the internet. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.